Welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about controlling the height of the ball as it crosses that net. As I've been serving, I've discovered that if I can control the height of the ball over the net and keep it low, I'm not strong enough to hit the ball so hard that it goes out and long, especially if I'm serving from corner to corner. So being able to control the height of the ball over the net is a good thing to be able to do. If I can understand how to control the height of the ball as it crosses that net, then during the game, if I'm having serving troubles, I can fix those, or I understand how to fix those. So if I hit a serve and it goes in the net and I understand how to control that height, then I know what I have to fix. Or if it went long, it was too high and it went long, then if I understand how to control that height, then I know what I need to fix. If you've been watching this series, then you understand I'm a firm believer in having this paddle as vertical as I can have it when I hit this ball. Now it can't be completely vertical, it's off at an angle a little bit, but I want this ball in close. If you agree with that, then controlling the height of the ball as it crosses the net is relatively simple, in theory anyway. Bottom line is, if you've been doing what I've been suggesting in this masterclass series on serving, controlling the height of the ball as it goes across this net really depends on one thing and one thing only, and that is, where is this ball relative to our body when we hit it? Everybody has an ideal contact point regardless of how hard or how slow that you swing. So as I'm swinging and my paddle comes forward and I contact this ball, if I'm contacting that ball in the ideal contact point, then this ball will consistently stay low over that net. And that could be 4 inches, 6, 12, whatever low means to you. But if I could always hit that ball in the same spot, there's some perfect spot out there where that ball consistently stays low. You have to figure out, you have to find where that contact point is for you. And it will vary as you start to serve harder and harder, which is kind of the goal of this class. It's going to change a little bit, but let's talk about how to find this. So in essence, controlling the height of the ball over that net depends on how far forward or how far backwards that ball is to my ideal contact point. So if I hit this ball perfectly with that contact point, it stays low over the net. How does that get out of whack? Well, one is if the ball is too far forward. So I'm just going to slide back a little bit. And let's say I released the ball too far out in front. And by too far, it's literally an inch or two. It's not very much. So let's say I'm releasing the ball out here. The further out in front, then the higher this ball goes over the net. And I will exaggerate that a little bit more, so I'm further back here. By the time my paddle gets that far out in front, I have more and more and more lift, and that's why that ball goes high and long. Flip side of that is, the ball's not far enough out in front, and now it's too far back. So if I'm releasing and holding the ball too far back of that ideal contact point, then I don't get enough lift or any lift, and I dump it into the net. What you need to do is figure out where that ideal contact point is for you. How do you figure that out? Well, you start serving and you pay attention. If you're going to be OCD about anything, you need to be OCD about where this ball is when you release it and when you hit it. So I need to pay attention. If you think of the analogy of tennis players, and as they're getting ready to serve, and they toss this ball up, what they want to have is when that ball is up here, it's in a consistent location, meaning that this ball is always predictable. I just toss it up consistently. It always kind of gets in the same spot. And then I'm able to hit that ball more consistently going across that net. Same thing for us in pickleball. This is our ball toss. We're just releasing it and letting it drop. So going in the opposite direction, but the theory is the same. If I could always have this ball in the same location, then I am way more consistent hitting this ball. For you to figure out where your ideal contact point is, we're just going to start hitting balls and see where they go and understand why it went too high or why it went too low. All right, so get into your serving position, start practicing and start drilling, and then start paying attention, be a little bit critical. It's like, was that ball too high? Was that ball too low? So we're going to hit some balls, and then let's say the ball went too high. Then what that tells me is I was too far back, or when I dropped this ball, when I released this ball, I was holding it too far out in front. So I would bring that ball back an inch and I would serve some there, and on average, how high or how low did that ball go over the net? Still a little bit too high. So I would bring that ball back another inch or two, serve some from there. On average, that's getting better and better. Bring this ball back even a little bit further, serve some more. Okay, now it's getting dangerously close to the top of that net. Serve some more with this ball even further back. Okay, now I'm dumping those into the net. And that's how we start to figure out for us, for each one of us, where our ideal contact point is. And then as we get into a game and we're hitting serves and they don't go where we want as far as the height over that net, we start to understand how to fix that. And that's really all you need to know. That's really all you need to understand to be able to control the height of the ball as it goes over the net. Now, it's harder to do in practice. In reality, is to be that concise, to be that OCD. And so that's where a lot of practice comes into play. But I'm down here and I'm serving and I hit this ball and it goes too high. I'm going, oh, I dropped or released that ball too far out in front. I simply need to pull it back an inch and do it again. Or it went dangerously close to the top of that net. If you watch the videos where I'm demoing my serve, and I may have commented while I was hitting some of those, oh, that was too low, meaning that it cleared the net, but not by much. And I want to fix that on the very next serve. I don't want to wait until I dump it into the net. Then in my head, what I'm doing is that was too low, meaning this ball was too far back when I released it, and I need to move it forward like an inch or maybe two, maybe not even two, but just an inch to get that ball to go higher over the net. So as I was hitting those balls in the demo, and they were low and clearing the net by not very much, I go, oh, that's too low, or maybe it clipped the top of the net. My fix, what I'm trying to do on that very next serve, is when I release this ball, just have it a little bit further forward. That will give me more height, because as my pendulum swing comes down, bottoms out, and it starts to come back up, that's where the lift is coming from to get this ball up. So the further out in front, the higher that ball is going to go. Keep this in mind, practice this, and pay attention as you serve how high or how low that ball went when it went over the net. There are maybe hundreds of theories about how you should serve out on the internet, and you can pick the one that is something that you're in alignment with, something that you like. My personal belief is I want to keep this ball low over the net as I serve for two reasons. First one is I can hit this ball harder. So if I'm serving corner to corner, this court is longer. If I can control the height and keep that ball low over the net, it's not going to go out and long. Second reason is if I can keep this ball low over the net, and for me that's maybe 4 or 6 inches, somewhere around there, so low over the net, as it crosses the net, bounces, then since it's coming down from a lower height, it's not going to bounce up as high. So you probably understand that when you're back returning, somebody hits a serve and it doesn't come up off this floor very high, that's a little bit harder serve to return. Now there's some new things out where people are talking about have a real high serve, it bounces and it kicks up really high, and that can be difficult to return as well. Not arguing that point at all. For me, I'd rather hit this ball hard and keep it low. So if I can just clear that net, keep that ball low and control the height, then from this height, it's not going to bounce up very high versus one that's coming in very high. The other thing is I put a little bit of topspin on my serve, not a ton. I'm not trying to hit a heavy topspin serve like some people are, and that's fine. So that little bit of topspin, when it hits, it will kick toward the returner and stay low as well. So kind of a double whammy there of this ball stays extra low, which I think, and in my experience, makes it a little bit harder to return. So pick the theory that you want, how high or low you want to control that ball over the net. Mine is I'm trying to keep it maybe like that high over the net, thinking that when it hits, it's going to stay low. It's not going to bounce up very high. And if you know, and you're back here trying to return a fast, low serve, those can be a little bit difficult to get enough lift to get this up and over, but not so much lift that it goes too high. In that same vein a little bit then, if I can control the height of this ball and keep it low over the net so it doesn't bounce up very high, kind of an added benefit is I end up with two different serves. And I talked the other day about we want to practice one serve and have that be as good as we can. And really this is the same serve, but it just depends on how high that ball goes over the net. I don't always control it to be at the same height. I may want it to be that high over the net, but sometimes it's like here and sometimes it's here, and so that varies even as much as I practice. So the end result is it gives me kind of two serves. So one is, if I hit this ball really hard and I can drive this ball deep, then they have to be standing back here, because if it lands deep, it doesn't come up off the floor very high. They've got to be further back to get their paddle up and under this ball and get it back up over the net. The other serve that kind of happens by mistake, I'm not really trying to do that, but is I will hit a ball that stays really low over the net, so it drops shorter in the court, doesn't come up very high, and will bounce twice before it gets back to this baseline. So now, how do they differentiate between which one of those serves it is? Because mine's coming pretty fast. What happens is they have to stay back and respect this deep serve. If I'm hitting some of these back, and if you watch some of my demos, sometimes I can put the ball pretty deep toward the baseline, so they have to be back and respect that deep ball that's coming. If I happen to hit a serve that goes lower over the net than I wanted, and that happens, then it bounces shorter, and then it doesn't come up very high, and it's almost bouncing by a second time by the time it gets back here to the baseline. So that ends up giving me a second type of a serve, really off the same motion and off of the same effort. And sometimes the ball, when I release it, it's a little bit too far back, it just barely clears the net, and I end up having this one serve that bounces and then bounces again by the time it gets back to the baseline. So that makes this serve a little bit tougher, because they don't know what's coming, and sometimes I don't know what's coming. Sometimes I just hit the ball lower over the net. Like always, go practice. Pay attention when this ball that you served goes over that net, how high was it? And then start playing with, start adjusting where you're releasing that ball, how far out in front or how far back. So if it's all the way back here, this is going in the net. Too far out in front, it's going too high. Start paying attention to when you hit this serve, how high or low that goes over the net. And then start working on your adjustments. I want to diagnose well. I want to understand why it went one way or the other. And I want to be able to fix that on the very next serve. So one, can I understand why it went where it went? Well, we've talked about that. And then the key thing is, can I fix that on the next serve? So I'm in a game, I just dumped a ball into the net on my serve. I get my serve back later in the game. It's like, can I fix that? Can I remember that, oh, that last one was too low. I need to pay more attention to where this ball is when I release it. As I've mentioned in one of the other videos, this front knee is a good reference point. So if my knee is here, then I can see if it's an inch this way or an inch this way, or kind of where I need or want it to be. And so try and use this front knee as a good reference point, because that's something that's relatively close to the ball. I'll turn this way, and I talked about how we want this ball in close to this front knee and have that as a reference point. And that will help you figure out, I need to go a little bit further forward or a little bit further backwards. Pay attention to where that ball is in reference to this front knee, and that will help you make those adjustments.